Сайн байцгаана уу хөд үзэгчдээ. Өнөөдөр манай дефакто нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор Лондонгийн Хөрөнгийн биржийн зочин оролцож байна. Энэ хүн бол Лондонгийн Хөрөнгийн биржийн анхдагч зах зээлийн Европыг хариуцсан захирал Аюна Ничаева гэж хүн оролцож байна.
Аюна Ничаева Лондонгийн Хөрөнгийн биржийн анхдагч зах зээл Европын бүс нутгийг хариуцсан захирал. Греноблийн бизнесийн дэд сургуулийг олон улсын бизнесийн магистрийн зэрэгтээ төгссөн. Лондонгийн Хөрөнгийн бирж дээр эрчим хүч, технологи, хэрэглээний бараа, финтек, металл, уул уурхай зэрэг өргөн хүрээний салбаруудын олон улсын олон IPO болон бүртгэлээр ажилласан туршлагатай. 2021 оноос 2024 оны хооронд The City UK-ийн EMEA зах зээлийн зөвлөх бүлгийн дарга болон The City UK-ийн олон улсын худалдаа хөрөнгө оруулалтын бүлгийн гишүүнээр ажиллаж байсан. 2017 онд менежментийн шилдэг эмэгтэйчүүдийн жагсаалтанд багтсан. 2018 онд бизнес төрлөөр Азийн шилдэг эмэгтэй шагналд нэр дэвшиж байсан.
King Tower Apartment Belgus-ийн Rainiers брендийн шилэн фасадтай оршин суугчдад зориулсан 5 тухтай орчин бүрдүүлсэн цэлгэр уужим орон зай бүхий 60-аас 154 м2-т 2-оос 5 өрөөний сонгоцтой орон сууцнаас төлбөрийн таатай нөхцлөөр худалдан авах боломжтой. King Tower Apartment 6 дугаар ээлжийн орон сууцанда та бүхнийг урьж байна.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to Mongolia.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here.
First trip to Mongolia?
No, it's actually fifth.
Fifth?
Yeah.
What happened?
So I've been to Mongolia several times, and my first trip was back in 2011 when we signed the strategic partnership agreement with the Mongolian Stock Exchange. And since then, I've been here several times on business. We actually organized, as the London Stock Exchange, 2 conferences in Ulaanbaatar. And but I'm really pleased to be back here this year.
2011, I remember that time head of the stock exchange, Xavier Rollet, was on my program.
Indeed.
So you were coming together.
Yes, indeed. And he was our CEO back then of the London Stock Exchange, and he was the one driving the strategic partnership agreement.
I was surprised because for a size of your London Stock Exchange, the world financial market center stock exchange, and suddenly coming to smallest probably stock exchange in the world, and since that already 14 years. So how do you find today the partnership?
We still have the partnership. The Mongolian Stock Exchange utilizes the technology and surveillance system of Millennium IT, which is part of LSAC technology. And there is also maintenance, of course, behind that. So we still have this relationship where we support the maintenance of...
What was the principal revolutionary change you made with this technology to Mongolian Stock Exchange?
I think one of the key things is having the system that is world-class, that allows you to trade stocks in the same way that these stocks are traded around the world on major exchanges. But one of the key changes that we helped introduce was the transition to the T+2 settlement.
That means?
That means that the trading is not pre-funded. So it means that a broker does not have to put up the money first and then receive the stock. It actually happens on the second day after the trade, which means there are 2 days to actually run all the risk processes, risk management processes.
By
so
now, but
makes
the
it safer.
transaction happens in 2 days.
Yes. The agreement to trade happens on T0, and then in 2 days' time, the buyer and seller exchange money, and
the transaction happens.
Exactly,
finally.
it completes. Yeah.
Okay. So what does it give substantially for the development of a young stock exchange like Mongolia?
Today, maybe because the exchange is still fairly small, it may seem that it doesn't really matter if it's T+0 or T+2. But actually, if you think about institutional investors, the global or international institutional investment funds, they require for this to be in place for this system, because that means that it is safer for them to trade.
And plus, they are very large sum players.
Exactly. So, looking into the future, if Mongolian capital markets was to develop, they would need to have this system to attract international investors.
So a question about primary markets. I understand it's CIS countries and emerging markets, including Mongolia.
Yes. So the primary markets focus means that it's all about listings and IPOs. So my job is to attract new companies to list in London. And my geographic focus within that is Europe, all of Europe, my teams. But also, as you mentioned, the CIS and also Central Asia. And Mongolia is very much a part of that.
Primary are those basically those who are coming first time to the stock exchange. So let's talk about the size of the stock exchange. What is the London Stock Exchange? I mean, everybody knows, but I would like to hear from you that ranking, the size, that people understand what money we talk about.
Of course. Well, ever since you have spoken with our CEO back in 2011, actually the London Stock Exchange has undergone massive transformation. There have been lots of acquisitions, and there was a merger with Refinitiv, which is a global data provider, in 2021. So today, actually, London Stock Exchange Group is a global financial market infrastructure, and we operate in 190 markets and have around 20,000 people around the world. So the London Stock Exchange is the core part of that. So primary markets, as you mentioned, or we call it capital markets. So in terms of the size of just the London Stock Exchange part of this, so we have just under 2,000 companies listed in our markets, with a total value of around $6 trillion.
$6 trillion?
Yes.
It is 1/3 of the US economy. Wow.
And yes, and a big part of this, by the way, are international companies, non-UK companies.
Out of this 2,000?
Yes.
How many?
It's about
Majority?
1,800, yeah.
1,800 are international companies?
In 1,800 overall, it fluctuates, obviously. The new companies come in, some companies leave, but about a third of all those companies are international. And that's why we actually call ourselves, the London Stock Exchange calls itself the most international exchange in the world.
Yeah, London is, well, if take the global picture of financial market, US, New York is the largest, right, in terms of the capital exchange, etc. But London is very famous for exchange, the banking transactions. And does it reflect somehow on your LSE somehow, because there are more money, the world largest financial money market center, right?
Well, I would say the London's financial center is one of the oldest in the world, very much,
1700.
Yes, so it's the LSE itself is 300 years old, right? What I would say is that in Europe, it is definitely number one. So if you think about London Stock Exchange as a leading exchange, it's definitely number one in Europe. And obviously, we also are comparable, as you mentioned, to the US, the Wall Street, and the Asian financial center. That's without a doubt. One of the things that really makes London work is the GMT time zone. So it actually sits between the American and the Asian time zone. So the trading, it connects those centers in a seamless way. So, and that's why historically it has developed so well.
That's why London Stock Exchange with this OTC together probably makes non-stop transactions of the world.
Exactly.
Right?
Because you can start in Asia, then you continue seamlessly into European hours, and then America wakes up, and then you start trading the American.
Does it mean that you guys are kind of working at
24.
night too?
Well, there have been conversations, but yes, everyone works very hard in the city of London for sure.
Because partially I'm a little bit was close to this financial capital market, and I know in particular young people after graduation comes and 724 principles. Phone is open to be at it. It's a hard work to be a worker, work for capital market.
Yeah.
And how did you start it, by the way?
I started in 2009 as a junior analyst. And yes, I worked pretty hard, I have to tell you.
Yes.
Maybe not 24/7 literally, but long hours. And then yes, gradually progressed to the role of head of Russia CIS in Mongolia in 2016, and then I was appointed as head of Europe 2018.
You should have been very hard worker to get to the level that you are now in charge of all Europe, primary markets.
Thank you.
And by the way, what does it take to be for a woman originally from Buryatia, living in Moscow and coming to London? What was that internal motivation and strength you were taking at hard times?
Wow, it's a very deep question, but thank you for it. There are two qualities that I think I've recognized really help build a career, especially in a different country. These are tenacity and resilience. And also, the third one is adaptability. Because there's so many very intelligent and driven and talented people, but it does take those three qualities to succeed in the longer term. But what drove me was I have to tell you, one of the reasons I have stayed for so long in this industry is because it's very exciting. It throws new challenges at you every day. I get to travel to fantastic countries like Mongolia. I do spend a lot of time traveling for my job. But what that means is when you grow up in a country where you don't necessarily see many opportunities for yourself, you dream about building a better and more exciting future for yourself. So I think the best driver for me was to go to a country where I think I can apply my talents, but also be interested to do what I would like to do every day. You have
made Moscow State University.
Yes.
You and me are alumni.
Yes.
And then also Grenoble with MBA.
Yes.
So you speak French.
I studied French. I'm not at the fluency level, but I can speak and understand. Yes.
So let's back to London Stock Exchange and Mongolia connection. For a while since we opened this capital market, Mongolian Stock Exchange. By the way, we are one of the first former communist countries who had opened immediately stock exchange.
Yeah.
I remember that time the chair of the stock exchange also was on the international journals, magazines, etc., which was a part of infrastructure for that privatization of Mongolian assets that time. And since that, we have been learning, developing capital market until today. We still keep doing. And meanwhile, how many Mongolian companies went to your AIM and this main stock exchange?
So we have one company on AIM, which is called Petromatad. And then we've been really delighted to welcome a new company earlier this year, ICFG or Investco. The ICFG is the group and Investco is the name of the company here. And I think one of the key things that really excites me is that ICFG, for example, it operates outside the traditional natural resources, mining or oil and gas sector. It actually is the new economy business,
and how much,
entrepreneur-led.
It's great that Petromatad is a petroleum company which they have discovered oil, and now they still are developing the field, and hopefully it is a good a chance for Mongolia to have more oil, which we need now, along with the one with Chinese developing, to our new refinery. The new refinery is almost completed, or almost a couple of years probably. And then we will need more oil, and Petromartad is a good source for oil, what we do expect. In terms of this Investco, as you rightly noted, that we are so glad that it is not a mining company, it's IT company coming to LSC and raising a fund. What was the total capital fund they have raised?
They haven't raised, it was more of a technical listing, and we call it an introduction. But the valuation was around 120 million. But what's important is that they will use this public listing as a platform to grow. And then hopefully then we will see capital raising in the future.
To raise fund and to increase your shares value on stock market, you really to be transparent to the international standard. And really to follow all these things, how things is going in that regard.
So you absolutely hit the nail on the head. I think one of the reasons companies go to the public markets is to gain this recognition as a business that is transparent, that complies with the regulation, and importantly, governance standards. So the decisions that are made by company are made not only in the interest of the business, but also in the interest of minority shareholders. Those institutional funds that I've been talking about. So, and that's why it's easier once a company is already on the market. It's easier for them to do business, find international partners, use their shares instead of cash for M&A transactions, and also build more trust with customers. Because it means you already have the international recognition and confidence.
To me, it's kind of they have broke the ice. They are coming first, like a first ship. So for the other companies who are following them, what you would advise for Mongolian companies who are dreaming to come to London Stock Exchange?
So I've been here already for 2 days, and I've been meeting a number of Mongolian companies, especially banks, who are all considering various international exchanges for potential transactions in the future. And my key recommendation was to focus on preparation. So first of all, conduct gap analysis of how ready they are at this point, and then what are the extra steps that they need to take to meet those international investor expectations. But I'm happy to share with you that a lot of companies are already very close to meeting those standards, and some of those are already, probably could be ready to start speaking and speaking to investors, because some of them already have international financial institutions within their shareholder structure. So institutions like IFC, International Financial Corporation, EBRD, they have been working with local companies for a while. So I'm quite proud to see so many Mongolian companies who have already progressed a lot in terms of opening up to the international investment flows.
IFC, EBRD, this kind of financial development institutions.
Exactly. Asian Development Bank has been
ADB,
also
World Bank, probably.
Exactly. And
you see, once you are listed in London Stock Exchange, after that means you have overcome many requirements. And it is not only just to meet the requirements, but it means inside of the company, certain things are already changed or to be changed, right? Which could be a good standard of governance for other Mongolian companies. Which can push the people's interests to the capital market.
Absolutely. And look, the discussions that we're having with the MSC and the FRC are all about the partnership. So I am not here to steal Mongolian companies from Mongolia. I'm here to build the bridge and strengthen the relationship so that any future transactions could be dual listings. So shares listed on the Mongolian Stock Exchange, and then global depository receipts listed on the London Stock Exchange. That's really important.
Now, how you combine that, the prices, with your dual listing?
Yes, it's an established mechanism, and the price is fully aligned. And if it's not aligned, then brokers have and investors have an arbitrage opportunity.
Yes.
So they trade to trade away the price differences. And that's actually leads to bigger trading volumes.
We have a Toronto listed dual listing mining company.
Yeah.
And the price of share, which is a part of that share in Toronto, but here is listed and the money is in Mongolian tugriks. There is in Canadian dollars. The exchange rate is fluctuating depending on the rate. What is it kind of double funding for a company? What is that, first of all?
Why is it important? It allows company to attract international investors that they otherwise wouldn't be able to reach, but also enable them to give an opportunity to local Mongolian retail investors, people like you and me, to participate in the success of the company. So that's why it's important to have a dual listings. So typically, I've worked on many dual listings from the CIS, and I can tell you that statistically, about 70 to 80% comes from international investors of the money raised, and about 20 to 30% comes from the local market.
Okay.
And usually the retail, so local people, they participate in the local domestic.
I think there is a more assurance that it is, if it is double listed, it meets double two countries' jurisdictions requirements, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
you understand quite well.
Well, I have been a part of this development kind of. Question is, in order to be listed, say in London Stock Exchange or AIM, any of your branches, what is the minimum requirement of shares to be IPO? For in Mongolia, for banks, recently go with 5, 10, which we are not sure how much we are happy about that.
Look, actually, there's been a whole host of reforms that has happened in the UK capital market since 2021, since Brexit was completed. And the purpose of those reforms was to make London more competitive globally, vis-a-vis US and European and Asian exchanges. And we decided that, it doesn't make sense to put up the barriers that are too high. It's up to investors to decide what's investable, what their priorities are, right? So actually the free float requirement, what you're asking, the minimum percentage, has gone down from 25% to 10%. However, it's the minimum, right? And you can then go higher. So if the amount raised if the company is small, obviously it will need to offer a much bigger chunk of its share capital, so that there is liquidity.
So minimum 10% this time.
Yes.
My concern is in a particular, in the emerging market, like Mongolia, where only 10 or so percent of total shares are public, then it is not enough representation of those shareholders in the management, in the board. I mean, first of all, on the board. Then without this board representation, what's happening in Mongolia now, unfortunately, we are not sure how much it will go further, one. Secondly, there are cases where, because there is no representation of the publics on the board, now some board of some companies are making decisions to delist, they buy back to the shares. In particular, when the public had bought at high price, now it's very low price, and kind of people were financing for nothing all this company. What would be...
That's very interesting. And I've heard this feedback from not only the stakeholders in Mongolian market, but also the companies themselves.
Okay.
So it all depends on the depth of the market. Because the domestic market is fairly small, if you also list a tiny amount, then there is very little trading. So when we talk about the London Stock Exchange, and if there is, for example, a dual listing, right? Of course, as I mentioned, the more you offer, the better. But there is also the depth of the market. So a lot of investors can trade, and they can execute the trades efficiently, right? So you almost don't necessarily get this problem as you would on the local market. So there are also ways to improve liquidity. So you can appoint a company can appoint a market maker. A company can try and get into an index where you get additional passive funds in your register. So there are ways to also seek high liquidity. But I am fully aware of the challenges that you've described, and actually I have also made some recommendations on how to address that. Basically, in simple terms, right, in order to improve this situation, the MSC needs to work very hard on building the market, and that's what they're already doing and planning to do. You need to have more brokers, need to have more investors, pension funds. You need to have in Mongolia private pension funds participating in IPOs, and also more retail participation. So more, high percentage of the population being active in the capital market. For example, like in other markets.
Yeah, that is the issue of which is first, egg or chicken, right?
I know.
That's why you see, as soon as some positive things, that is assuring that your investment is in a good hand and things are going in the right way, then people will be more willing to invest. But what this kind of things happening, people are now very reluctant.
Yeah. And it's for the government also to play a role. So I can give you an example of a success story in Poland, for example, where the government actually did a pension funds reform, I think over a decade ago, and pension funds started participating in IPOs. So there was an incentive for them to support any local IPOs. So it means there is a success. There is more money in the market.
Yeah, out of all money in any country, the largest and longest term fund is pension fund.
Yes.
Which is unfortunately empty in this country, and they are from, youngster paying the older people now, and the government has a lot debt to the pension fund, which is the actually driving force of the capital market, which is not happening in Mongolia, unfortunately. My final question is about Mongolian Stock Exchange. Since you have visited, Rolla, you visited first time, and now it's a semi-private. Does it change anything?
Of course it does.
What?
Of course it does. If it's as a publicly listed company, the Mongolian Stock Exchange also has to comply with all the requirements of being a publicly listed company, which makes it more effective and efficient.
And it is publicly listed on
its own exchange.
On
yes,
itself.
Yeah. As the London Stock Exchange is listed on the London Stock Exchange. Yeah.
There is one thing then. Mongolian Stock Exchange, then the stock exchange itself is listed here. Any conflict? Possible conflict? Any controversial stuff?
No, I don't think so.
They will regard as another company.
Yes, absolutely.
And
because the regulator is separate. The FRC regulates the Mongolian Stock Exchange.
Itself,
And yes, exactly.
So it's kind of central railway station.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Well, we call ourselves...
Which owns one train himself.
Yes, because the London Stock Exchange is also listed on the London Stock Exchange. And we consider ourselves as like a marketplace where everyone meets. So we're a convener. We bring together money, companies, money through investors and the companies and all the market participants. So that is a very, very systemic role, and it's a very important role. But ultimately, you have the independent regulator who oversees this all.
What is the share that publicly available for stock exchange, Mongolian Stock Exchange? 40% or?
The free float, I don't know.
Okay. No, but just I'm wondering, maybe it's a good investment to buy shares. And
I can't make recommendations, that's for
I
sure.
understand. Anyway, it was very interesting conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Because a short time, it could be way longer, but because the time we have to limit. And thank you very much for being my guest.
Thank you.
And playing an important role, making Mongolia more deeper into the world capital market. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. За хүн төзөгчтэй өнөөдөр манай de facto нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор Лондонгийн Хөрөнгийн биржийн анхдагч зах зээлийг хариуцсан Европыг хариуцсан захирал хадагтай Аюна Ничаева оролцлоо. Баярлалаа.
King Tower Apartment Belги улсын Rainiers брендийн шилэн фасадтай оршин суугчдад зориулсан 5 тухтай орчин бүрдүүлсэн цэлгэр уужим орон зай бүхий 60-аас 154 м2-т 2-оос 5 өрөөний сонголттой орон сууцнаас төлбөрийн таатай нөхцлөөр худалдан авах боломжтой. King Tower Apartment 6 дугаар ээлжийн орон сууцанда та бүхнийг урьж байна.